This is going to be our last class session for the semester. I have not yet really decided on what to ask as an activity for the finals, but my idea is that those who are doing well will probably be exempt from any further activity so you can concentrate on your other subjects. I feel confident kasi yung note-taking nyo, makakatulong talaga yan sa inyo to retain information. This is information which will be important for you later on. No? So bago tayo magsimula sa ating tatalakayin ngayon, maaari ba natin pagbigyan sila Miss Gaspar at Miss Charlene Reyes upang ipaliwanag na yung kanilang karangalan na nakuha kamakailan lang. Miss Gaspar?
So actually po, sir, ano po yun?
Part
po yun ng dalawang sections. So, second year po.
Anong context niyan, Miss Gaspar? Miss Reyes?
Yung JPIA po, yung org po is, nagkaroon po sila ng event, contest po na short film making, and yun po, nanalo po yung entry po namin.
Very good. Miss Reyes?
Ano po, sir? Bali, yung short film po is tungkol po sa buhay po ng isang accountancy students po.
Very good.
Parang yun po.
Siguro you can share it one time para mapanood namin. So this is only within URS, Miss Reyes?
Yes po, sir. Sa COA lang po.
Very good. I'm glad to see na talagang, alam nyo, dahil tayo ay magiging professionals, maganda rin na meron tayong ibang kakayanan. Ano? We are not, alam nyo kasi, I'll tell you frankly, ang tingin sa mga accountants very boring, di ba? Kasi napaka-boring na trabaho. Hanggang gabi, nandoon kayo, nagbibilang ng gumagawa ng T-balance, mga ganon. Very boring stuff. But it's very good to have a creative side, di ba? When I was in law school, I always admired my other classmates who became my partner in the law firm who could play the piano. It's very interesting. Di ba? I have classmates who dance very well. Those are very good. Ako, I have no talents at all. Yun lang ang mahirap. So congratulations to everybody concerned. Yan ay hindi lang karangalan, yan ay isang skill na maaari niyong magamit. If only to distress, di ba? Matanggal yung stress niyo. So congratulations to everybody concerned. Let's go on to our topic today. Let's try to finish it. Alam niyo yung binigay kong message, yun yung maximum of the maximum. Pinag-aralan namin yan sa mathematics. The minimum of the maximum of the maximum yan. Let's try to finish as quickly as possible kasi alam ko meron rin kayong mga ibang gagawin. Ako rin may magagawin iba. I'm really sorry, this week has been very busy. Tapos, dumating pa yung aking classmate from high school. We're all old now. Muntik malugi ang TGIF kasi puro kami senior citizen discount from the US. So, we have to get together. And then I have new cases, new work to do. So, I've really been, kung titingnan natin, yung ating academic calendar uli. Kung nakikita nyo, ang final examination nyo, December 1 to 2. Malapit yun, week after next. Kaya, ang balak ko, doon sa mga hindi ma-exempt, magbibigay ako ng final activity, hindi ko pa naisip kung paano, either before December 1 or after December 2. I'll take a chance na lang. Wala naman sa inyo yung graduating, di ba? So, malilate ako ng submission ng grades. Okay, so ang ating tatalakayin ngayon, ladies and gentlemen, as your assignment last Sunday, I asked you to read on your own the voidable contracts. Now, this is the reason why you just read it, because there's no way Uh, the voidable contracts are very self-explanatory, and I'm sorry to say, you just have to remember what they are. So we should have studied. You should have studied by now void and voidable contracts. And the only difference between void and voidable contracts is that voidable contracts are those contracts which have a defect which can be cured. Okay, so when you don't give a consent, but later on you decide it's a good idea to continue with the contract, then that's a voidable contract. In other words, you can continue to you can file an action to void the contract if there was some defect, or you can continue with it if you think that it is still good for you. So basically, ganun lang yon. So from your last readings there on voidable contracts, we talk about ratification. Ratification means, yun yung pinag-usapan ko eh. Merong mali doon sa kontrata, mali, pinayagan nyo na eh. So, that is consent. Although the consent did not occur during the time of the making of the contract, it followed before the contract could be done, so that it is still a valid contract. Ito ang ating pinag-uusapan ngayon. Kung makikita niyo yung screen, the matters which are in yellow-green are the topics for today. We'll talk about annulment of contract as opposed to, or cancellation of contract as opposed to rescission. Rescission ang topic natin ngayon. Okay, so you have to remember these terms. I'm sorry, it's like reading a dictionary full of terms and words, but alam nyo kasi, pag naalala nyo yung concept, ganito ang technique dyan, ano? And this goes to the old joke about visiting the lawyer's office. So, there was this rich gentleman. He went to his lawyer's office. So, he was there in the waiting room, waiting to be called into the room of the lawyer. And he noticed all around him, just like here, it's full of books. Kasama niya yung kanyang secretary. Sinabi ng secretary niya, "Sir, itong mga libro dito sa opisina ni attorney, nandiyan ang sagot kung ano yung tatanong nyo kay attorney. Huwag na kayo, makakasave kayo ng pera kung hindi nyo na-consulta. Yan, nandiyan na sa mga libro na yan." Sinabi ng boss, totoo. Ang sagot nandito sa mga libro na to. Kaso si attorney, siya lang may alam kung anong pahina. Diba? So that's the essence of how to study law. It is not really memorizing, but at least you know where to look. Halimbawa, bigla kayong sinabihan ng inyong boss sa inyong kumpanya, ikaw ay chief accountant o intern accountant or starting accountant sa Villar Group of Real Estate Companies. Binibili nila lahat ng agrarian land sa buong Pilipinas. Walang matitirang pananim. Puro subdivision. You're the accountant. Tapos tinanong nila, Miss Manintim, ano kaya yung annulment of contract? Pareho ba yun sa cancellation of contract? You don't really have to remember Articles 1390 to 1402, di ba? I mean, even I don't remember those things. But you know where to look. Pag nakita mo yun, ganyan, annulment of contract, sa voidable yan. Tinuro yan, Attorney Balag, alam ko saan nanapin yan. More or less ganito yan, nasa 1300s yan. Titignan ko na lang sa libro. Di ba? Ganun ang style. You don't have to memorize these things for life. You just remember it for the board exams. Okay. I'll just give you an example pala sa interpretation of contracts. Isang patakaran, isang adhikain sa pag-interpret ng contracts is a contract must be interpreted in the general sense. Ito, I'm giving this anecdote because I also practice as a maritime lawyer. But I did not represent Filipino seamen. I represented ship owners. I'm sorry to say. But I always told my ship owner bosses, clients, we should be fair to the Filipino seamen. If they are, I will tell you, if they deserve something, you pay it. But if they're fooling you, I will prosecute them or I will defeat their claim. Ewan ko na kwento ko sa inyo. I handled a very important seaman's claim. Ewan ko na kwento ko dito sa mga classes na to. I remember narrating it. There were 100 seamen who came home from the Philippines. Dala-dala ni First Gentleman Arroyo during the controversy about his secret bank accounts. So nagpapabango si Mike Arroyo noong panahon ni GMA. Nagpunta siya sa Middle East, kinausap niya yung emir ng UAE. Nag-uwi siya ng 100 Filipino seamen na naka-jail. They were in jail because they defrauded the bank of the emir. Sa lahat ba naman ng kanilang i-scam, yun pa yung bangko ni emir ng UAE. So talagang, it was a civil obligation. They already stayed in prison for the criminal for the criminal offense. They already served their sentence, but they were still being kept because hindi pa sila nakabayad doon sa kanilang civil liability. Iba ang batas sa UAE. Kaya nakakatakot magtrabaho sa Middle East. Wala kang laban doon. Lalo na kung yung emir, yung the chief leader of the UAE is yung kalaban mo. So these Filipino seamen were scamming the emir by using my client. My client was one of the biggest logistics companies in the world. They pag sila Beyonce, sila Sting nagko-concert, sila yung client ko nagdadala sa kanila. Because when Beyonce goes, it's not just Beyonce and her entourage on a plane. You have to bring equipment, sets, costumes. Naku, ang dami niyan. Halos mapuno yung barko sa mga kasangkapan ni Beyonce, nila Sting. Their instruments. Hindi sila gagamit kung ano yung nandoon sa concert area. Dala nila, sarili nila yan. Trailer nila para sa kanilang makeup. Okay, so that's what my client does. They have a very small shipping section, yung actually ship owning section. Maliit lang. Because there were actually boats. All their boats did was travel back and forth. Doon lang sa Arabian Sea. Hindi naman malayo. But they had Filipino seamen. Ngayon kasi sa UAE at that time, ko hanggang ngayon, when you have an employment contract within the UAE, you're allowed to borrow money from the bank. Ang ginawa ng financial officer, who was an Indian, I'm sorry to say, of my client, kinuha niya lahat ng mga Pilipino, had them sign fake loans from the banks. And the banks will give them collateral-free loans. $1,000, $2,000, malaki na yung $5,000. Kinukuha yun ng Indiano. He would get the money, give the Filipino just a small amount for having incurred the loan. Tapos sabihin niya, I will pay that, don't worry, I will pay. But he did not pay, he ran away. In fact, he was one of the first to be prosecuted. So what the emir did was, he prosecuted all of these Filipino seamen who took spurious loans. When they came back to the Philippines, they filed a 1 billion peso illegal termination case against my client, the ship owners. Because, sabi nila, they were illegally terminated. Paano nung sila hindi ma-illegally terminated? They were in prison. Di ba? Siyempre, susweldohan ba sila pag nasa prison sila? So I managed to defeat them. Ito yung kwento about interpretation of contracts. The interpretation of seaman's contracts must be in the general system. At that time, meron seaman's contract with this other company, not my client, another company. This is an actual case, which said that generally the ship owner would be liable. Siyempre, the ship owner is liable if the seaman dies during his contract. You know? Siyempre, that's natural. You're on board the ship, tapos bigla ka namatay. Most likely kasalanan niya ng ship owner. There's something about the ship or there's something about the ship conditions that made the seaman, not necessarily Filipino, die. At ito nangyari. May Filipino seaman nag-amok. Amok na bigla siya nang crazy. Siguro iniisip niya yung kanyang girlfriend o boyfriend, di natin alam. We have to be gender neutral nowadays. He started stabbing people sa ship. Then after his stabbing spree, he was crazy. He went to the side of the ship and he jumped. The ship turned around to look for him wala na, patay na siya. The family filed the claim in the Philippines. Kasi nakalagay doon sa kanilang kontrata ng seaman and the ship owner that the ship owner will pay benefits if the seaman dies. Ang sinabi ng ship owner, oh yeah, the seaman died. But he killed himself. He jumped off the ship. It's not our fault. Ang sinabi ng Philippine Supreme Court, a contract must be read in its general sense. Nakalagay doon sa contract that the ship owner will be liable if the seaman dies. Hindi naman sinabi doon if the seaman dies because of an accident caused by the ship owner's negligence or caused by the shipmates or crewmen negligence or negligence or acts of the captain or officers or acts of third parties, well, like pirates or passengers. Wala naman nakalagay doon. There's no qualification. It just said the ship owner will be liable for the death of the seaman. So that includes suicide. Or in this case, this wasn't really suicide, but it was just too crazy that they jumped off the ship. That is the practical operation of interpretation of contracts. So now we will go to reformation. We will get to annulment in a short while. Reformation simply means, and you have to remember this, that there was mistake, fraud, inequitable conduct, or accident by one of the parties in the making of the contract. Whether it was written or not, whatever they agreed to, somebody made a mistake, and that mistake is not allow that party to accept the contract, but that is not what is written in the contract. This is in the case of a written contract. It is not written there. There's also reformation when there was ignorance, lack of skill, negligence, or bad faith only in one of the parties. Halimbawa, nagkamali sa pag-type, nagkamali sa pagsulat sa computer, or the person who was writing it was a lousy lawyer. Diba? So that instrument does not reflect the true will of the party. So please remember, sa Reformation is done by the courts. It's not done by the parties. The Reformation is done by the courts to correct something in the writing, the actual terminology of the contract, which does not reflect the true will of the parties. And how is the true will of the parties determined? Yan ang mahirap dito sa sistemang ito na we have to go to the court for reformation of instruments. Kasi the court will now try to find ano ba yung intention ng mga parties. So, tatawagin yan isa-isa. O, ikaw, Mr. Party A, ikaw, Miss Party B, what did you want to do here? You, what did you want to do? And then, when the court determines what is the true intent of the parties, it will now rewrite the instrument, the contract, so that it will reflect their true and genuine intent. Now, sa panahon ngayon, I was number 35,000 when I took the bar exams in the role of attorneys. In other words, there were 35,000 lawyers ahead of me. By this time, there are probably 90,000 lawyers in the Philippines. Magkakaroon pa ba tayo ng mistake, lack of skill, ignorance, negligence? Wag na natin pag-usapan yung bad faith, fraud, di ba, or inequitable conduct. Pag-isipin na lang natin mistake, ignorance, lack of skill. Pwede pa ba? Yes, it happens. Lalo na yung mga complicated joint venture agreements, yung mga corporate contracts na 100 pages with lots of supplemental or annex agreements. It's easy to make a mistake even for the best of lawyers. So what do the parties do when there is a mistake in the instrument which does not reflect their actual intended contract? You reform it. You go to a court, ask for reformation of instrument. What happens in the meantime? The court expects you to be carrying out the agreement in accordance with the actual will. Ito ang problema. Magdi-Disyembre na, meron akong kaso last year pa rin. It's the last of my cases that has not yet been decided na matagal na, hindi yung bagong file. It's in Quezon. It's against the Constitution for a judge to take too long in deciding cases. And in fact, many judges have been removed for failure to decide cases in the required time. Sumobra na si judge doon. What am I driving at? Ang tagal ng court hearing. So isang taon kayo doon, naghihiring-hiring, naghihintay ng decision. In the meantime, paano yung agreement? Yun ang problema. What do you do here as members of a corporation? Assuming that you're in a corporation or you have a business, and you come across and you made a contract with somebody which does not reflect the true intent of the parties. Now, if you are dealing with another party who is also has good faith, you don't go through reformation of instruments anymore. You just correct it and novate. Mag-novation kayo ng contract. Huwag na kayo pumunta sa korte. Payayamanin nyo lang mga abogado. Hindi ako yumaman sa kaso. I only get paid my acceptance fee and hearing fees. Ilan lang naman hearing sa... Mahirap pag-hearing sa Quezon. Mag-hotel pa ako. Ang gastos-gastos sa kliyente. I think only they went there 3 times. But, kung meron kayong dokumento, whether in your business or in your family life, or when you are part of a corporation, which seems not to reflect the actual will of both parties, your company as well as the other company, and both of you are in good faith, you just point it out by email. There's something wrong in our contract. Can we rewrite it? Just rewrite it. Huwag na kayo magpunta sa korte. Why do people go to court for reformation of instruments under Articles 1359 to 69 of the Civil Code? Because one of the parties is resisting. Now, if there was an obvious mistake, there was an obvious ignorance, obvious lack of skill, why would the other party object to reforming the instruments on your own? Hindi natin alam. Doon tayo mapupunta sa bad faith under Article 1364 or fraud or inequitable conduct under Article 1359. So please take a look at Article 1365. Alam niyo itong pacto de retro. Pacto de retro means sale with right to repurchase. You know? In other words, I sell my property to Ms. Reyes, but I retain the right to repurchase it after, let's say, 6 months because siguro I just kailangan ko lang ng pera ngayon. But after 6 months, I will have the money already, I'm very sure. So I will exercise my right to repurchase. So, pag black and white na gano'n, my agreement with Ms. Reyes is perfectly valid. But alam nyo kasi, yung right to repurchase na yan, masyadong na-abuse yan. So please, avoid imposing a pacto de retro on somebody and avoid being the party if a pacto de retro because it is subject to abuse. The abuse is called, and you see it here on the screen, pactum commissarium. Just Article 28.8, which I taught last sem to other classes. Pactum commissarium means that the mortgagor, the party to a mortgage, silent T, cannot acquire the property, cannot gain ownership of the property without going through foreclosure. Kaya tayo nagkakaroon ng pacto de retro kunwari. Kaya tayo nagkakaroon ng undated deed of sale when you execute a mortgage or a loan. Loan. Kasi ayaw nila mag-mortgage. Kasi yung mortgage nga, lalo na real estate mortgage, tsitsiguretso yan. Punta ka pa sa korte, punta ka pa sa sheriff, magpapublish ka pa. You have to observe all of the periods stated in the law. So, a lot of people, lalo na yung mga switik, lalo na yung gustong mag-take advantage doon sa taong gustong humiram lang ng pera at ang kanyang pinanghawakan lang ay lupa. Like I told you, I think I told you this some time ago. I'm actually handling a case like that. My client, he's not my client. He's my client's ward. He uh, he borrowed 1 million pesos. And syempre, alam niyo yung mga yung mga lender, private lender to eh. Lumapit siya sa private lender, nakahanap siya ng private lender sa Mandaluyong, who's willing to lend 1 million pesos. Basta merong kapalit na security, no, which is usually land. He mortgaged my client's land, but he was stated as the title owner, but my client is a foreigner, so that the land is covered by the Philippine Retirement Authority. Sa Philippine Retirement Authority, a foreigner is the exception to the constitutional ban against foreigners owning a real estate. Di ba? Sa Constitution, bawal ang foreigners magkaroon ng real estate except to certain conditions. And one of this is, and the Philippine Retirement Authority, what they did is to entice foreigners to retire in the Philippines, just like my client is retired in the Philippines, you buy land. You buy land so that you have a connection to the Philippines and you have a capital. So you can either deposit money in the bank as a retiree and then maintain it. You have to maintain 500,000, whatever, or buy land. Of course, land's more expensive. So you bought a very expensive piece of land. Kaso, because of the Constitution, it cannot be named under him because he's a foreigner. So it was named under his ward. His ward took this title, which is not really his, brought it to that money changer for some reason or the other, got his 1 million pesos, could not pay back the loan. So what does the money lender do? Pagawa siya ng undated deed of sale. Why is it undated? A deed of sale, once dated, tatakbo ng metro. You have to pay the documentary stamp tax, transfer tax, capital gains tax at certain intervals. Si money lender, hindi lang pa naman niya alam kung magbabayad ba ito o hindi. So he will only date it when he is sure that the lender cannot pay. Doon niya lang if-foreclose. He does not foreclose. He does not go through the steps of the mortgage law. Instead, he makes it look like there was an absolute deed of sale to him. Diba? Tapos, papanotaryo niya yan. Pag nanotaryo, magbabayad na siya ng doc stamp tax, transfer tax, capital gains tax. Why is he willing to do this? Because the property is worth much more than the loan. My client's property is now worth about 15 million. The ward only borrowed 1 million. So now we're going to go to court. That is pactum commissarium. Bawal yon. What happens when you borrow money from a lender? And the lender asks you for security. This is the contract of mortgage, real estate mortgage. In a real estate mortgage, we'll study this later on, under the statute of frauds, it has to be right. Not only in writing. It's not only in writing. The mortgage law requires not only in writing, it must be registered with the Register of Deeds of the land concerned. So nakalagay doon sa titulo mo, property owned by me and my wife, for example, hindi nakalagay doon. Real estate mortgage in favor of Miss Fraga, who came in late today. So real estate mortgage in favor of Miss Fraga. So what does Miss Fraga do if I don't pay that loan that I borrowed from her, for which the property is mortgaged? She will now foreclose under the rules of court and the mortgage law. Okay? Matrabaho yan. And why is the law so complicated, so difficult? Because it wants to protect the borrower. It wants to protect the borrower. Okay. So bawal yan. But the parties may decide to make it a mortgage. So instead, para hindi naman mukhang pactum commissarium, meron silang pacto de retro agreement. Kuno, it may be corrected by reformation. Kasi makikita ng judge, ano tong pacto de retro agreement yun? Mukhang equitable mortgage to And under the law, an equitable mortgage must comply with the requirements of the mortgage law. So yan ang gagawin ni judge. RTB, you have to register this with the Register of Deeds. Because this is an equitable mortgage, you now make it into a real estate mortgage. That is the reformation that the judge will do. During reformation, the judge does not add anything or take away anything from the agreement. It just corrects the text of the agreement. Okay, so just all you remember. Ito pala, Article 2088. So I have to look over my other monitor. The creditor cannot appropriate the things given by way of pledge or mortgage or dispose of them. Any stipulation to the contrary is null and void. That's public policy. Okay, so now we talk about, we have 15 minutes, I think. Ano? Rescission contracts. Para konti na lang yung tatalakayin natin mamaya. You have to memorize Article 1381 for the board exams. That's the only way to know what are the rescissible contracts. So let's look at the Civil Code. 1380 to 1389. I hope you're taking notes. Hindi ko na maalala ito sinasabi ko Sorry, I was looking at other provision. 1380. These are my notes from last sem. Rescission is different from annulment of contracts. Rescission means the contract is voided as if it never existed. Because of some defect on the parties, on the conduct, or in the object of the agreement. Okay, the object of the contract. And if you look at 1381, you will see why this is rescission. These are really instances. If you please take a look at your screen, 1381, these are instances where there is a defect in the consent or the way in which the agreement is made. I like you to look at number 3 of Article 1381, those in fraud of creditors. Meron kasi tayong patakaran kung ang tao ay kulang na ang kanyang properties, kung sino ang babayaran. There is a line, there's a waiting line. Para itong nanood kayo ng concert ng Korean K-pop sa Araneta Smart Coliseum, hindi ka pwede kahit ikaw yung pinakamahal na ticket, pipila ka pa rin, di ba? Pipila ka pa rin, may pila Boss, may pila. Hindi pwedeng mauna ka, di ba? Ganun rin ang credit. Pag ikaw ay may pinag-uutangan, the law presumes that there is a priority in credits. So those who are secured, yung meron may mortgage, yung meron may security. Security is something that is offered to protect the lender just in case the borrower cannot pay. So, halimbawa, you gave your Rolex watch. Tunay na Rolex, Hindi yung peking Rolex na tulad ng ginagamit ko. Our Rolex is what? A minimum of 1 billion pesos. So, umutang ka ng 750,000 pesos, balit ang security mo naman ay Rolex na worth at least 1 million, papayag yung lender, di ba? Kasi sigurado siya na, bakit mo naman i-give up yung 1 million peso watch mo, utang mo maliit, mas maliit. Siyempre, tutubusin mo yan. Ganyan rin ang concept ng pawn shop. Diba? Ganyan ang concept ng pawn shop. That's why they will always get a more expensive item than what you are intending to borrow because they want to cover their costs. Yung gastos yan when you foreclose chattel mortgage, a mortgage covering things or property, or real estate mortgage, lalo na yon, kukuha ka pa abogado, bayad ka pa ng sheriff. So when you pay when a debtor who doesn't have enough properties starts paying, we will be ending in a short while, starts paying somebody ahead of somebody else, a preferred creditor, daya yun. Diba? Halimbawa, may utang siya sa kapatid niya. Si Miss Martinez, may utang sa kapatid. May utang sa kaibigan. May utang sa kapitbahay. Tapos may utang sa bangko. Halimbawa, the total debt, lahat ng pinag-uutangan ni Miss Martinez, 1 billion. Ang pera niya na lang niya, 500,000. Sabi niya, bakit ko pa kukonto? Bakit pa ako mag-insolvency? Hearing pa. Bigay ko na lang sa kapatid ko. Kapatid ko yan, kadugo ko yan. When those other persons, your best friend, your neighbor, or the bank who has a real estate mortgage over you, hears about this, they can rescind your contract. Although they are third party to it, because that is in fraud of creditors. So mag-ingat tayo. Kahit na may utang tayo, kahit may konti tayong pera, hindi lang tayo basta-basta makakapagbayad kung marami tayong pinagkakautangan. Okay, so ito yung tinutukoy ko. Ang tinutukoy ko ngayon is 1382, really. This is the operationalization of 1382. So I'll just underline that so you can see it no matter how small your screen is. So rescission is different from annulment because rescission is returning the parties to their original condition. Ang annulment, you stop the agreement now. So wherever you are in the agreement, let's say it's an agreement which involves several acts, wherever you are, sa annulment of contract, you stop. And then, the court will decide, ikaw, anong damages mo? Ikaw, anong danyos mo? Tingnan natin, we will fix this. We'll see who owes more damages than the other. Then, that party will pay the other. Mag-offset na lang kayo doon sa damages nyo, tapos kung meron sobra, yun ang babayaran ng isa. Usually, that's what the judge will do. So, and then the other fact, only for lawyers, is that rescission is subsidiary. It is an action only to recover damages. Halimbawa, I was going to give this example. Where did I give this example? It's in my notes. Excuse me. I could have sworn I wrote it down. Let's take a look. Rescission is done when there is a major breach which is inequitable for one or both parties, or intervening factors which cause damage or injustice. The simplest example, the easiest example I can give that you can relate to is what's happening now. Before February 24, 2022, Brent Mawili entered into an oil contract to deliver oil to the Philippines for the amount of, let's say, 20 million pesos. Oil, let's say, from Ukraine, because Ukraine is also an oil-producing country. In fact, that's why Hitler wanted to take over Ukraine in the Caucasian area, Caucasus area of Russia, because those were the oil-producing areas. By the way, the oil-producing areas in Ukraine are now occupied by the Russians. That's on February 24, 2022. February 23, 2022, si Brent Mawili entered in a contract to deliver oil from Ukraine to the Philippines. Bibenta niya yan sa Shell. And he will earn 2 million pesos easy. Whatever the price of oil is. You know? Kasi covered na siya. Sigurado siya. If he did all of the math, he's sure. February 2024, the Russians invade. Wala nang oil production sa Ukraine. Paano to ngayon? Diba? Shell expects Mr. Mawili to give me the oil. I'm willing to pay. Sabi naman na una, wala nang oil. At saka kung ano mang oil na itambak ko roon, kasi you don't buy 20 million pesos worth of oil right away. Some of it is stored. Nakapag-store si Mr. Mawili sa Subic. Meron siyang storage tanks doon. Kaso it's only worth 5 million. Kaso at the current prices of oil, that 5 million is now worth 8 million. Now why will he sell 5 million pesos worth of oil, which is now worth 8 million for less, for 5 million ulit? Nalugi siya. Instead na kumita siya, nalugi pa siya. So this is when you can rescind the contract, because there was no bad faith on the part of Mr. Mawili to supply the oil. There was no bad faith naman on the part of Shell to buy it, diba? But the object has now become impossible. It's an impossible obligation already. So balik na lang kayo. Nagbigay kayong deposito, ibalik mo yan, Mr. Mawili. Gumastos ka sa pag-store ng crudo, ay sige, you impose a fee for storing the oil. Ganon. That is how rescission may work. So, ito, just one final note. Rescission mentioned here is different from rescission under 1191 and 1592. So please take note of 1191 and 1592. The rescission in 1191 and Article 1592, which I've already shown here, is a primary remedy. In other words, in a reciprocal contract, rescission is the primary remedy that you do. It's not just subsidiary, it's not just for damages. So technically what I described to you is really covered under 1191, but it's an example of rescission. It is an exact illustration of why rescission is resorted to. But this is under 1191. The same things apply also under 1381. When the conditions between the parties render the agreement unjust to comply with. So I will now discontinue. I'll stop at this point, because I have a feeling that I'll stop at this point, and then I will see you at 3:30. Okay? Ito na lang ang tatalakayin natin, yung statute of frauds. And certain notes about certain specific contracts. Then I expect the students to give their final submission of your handwritten notes tomorrow. And then please stand by na lang kung anong gagawin natin for those who have to take some sort of final activity. Okay, sana hindi na. I have not really, I had to go back through, I missed a couple of submissions and written work. Magulo kasi yung email. My email is so full kasi even Gmail that I missed some people. So I have to go through it and complete my report of grades. But I will do that before we have the final activity. So I'll see you at 3:30. Have a coffee break. Relax muna kayo. See, I'll give you the link again. Okay? Okay, goodbye.